Hello everyone, my name is Kai Pianchin and I would like to make a brief presentation on my project about Netflix's release engineering process. First and foremost, a little context and the reasons why I decided to pick this topic for my presentation. When I was trying to decide a company to investigate, Netflix had a lot of open information and a lot of interesting blog posts, and so I decided to pick them. And I found out a series of very interesting processes that they developed along their years as a tech company. And I'd like to cite a few of those. First, Netflix deploys hundreds of times per day, which was astounding to me when I found out. They do not use any configuration or automation tools like Chef and Puppet for these deploys. They don't have a quality assurance department, and they do not use release engineers, in the sense they don't have solely dedicated release engineers. And all of this seemed quite unusual to me. But how can they do this? And it all comes down to their culture of development and a series of techniques. Basically, they use a service-oriented architecture for their API. Netflix is based on hundreds of services and they deal with billions of requests. And so they actually operate on a service basis. And they developed also a in-house platform operating on top of Amazon's AWS. And this was in order to allow independent teams to deploy these services as they see fit. So they develop them, they deploy them whenever they want, when they deem necessary, and they debug them. And they're also held accountable for the services that they operate. So basically they have a very DevOps-oriented culture, where developers are at the center. They build, they deploy, and they operate and maintain their code and their systems. So how does the release process actually work, considering this culture of development? And so the way it is it's basically a fully automated system that revolves around the developer. The developer, when he wishes to upload a new version or update a service, he pushes code to a repository. They use Git, and then this code is built and packaged by Jenkins, which is a automation server that configures and packages source code. From this source code, a AMI, the so-called AMI, which is an Amazon machine instance, basically a virtual machine image, is produced, and it's registered to Netflix's registry. This basically every AMI includes Netflix-based softwares, and it also includes others that may have been configured by the team for that specific service. This AMI is then deployed using the aforementioned in-house platform as a service, which Netflix used to call Asgard, and eventually it became Spinnaker, which is now open source as well. And this web system will deploy the Amazon EC2 instances, and they use at least 3 for each service for redundancy. From that moment, for a given period of time, usually a day, the new instance is tested. A load balancing system will direct traffic to that instance, and if it's working fine, eventually the old instance for the old service will be destroyed. If not, the load balancing unit will throw all requests back to the old system. And this is another tool that Netflix developed to ensure that their systems are failure tolerant. They call it the Simian Army, which randomly introduces failures into their hundreds of services in order to not only create a culture that develops around failure tolerance, but also to ensure that the system as a whole continues operating smoothly. So Netflix has a very, very interesting, peculiar release process. And the conclusions that I made from my research were the core benefits, so to speak, that Netflix obtains from this architecture. They have a very agile development and release because of this DevOps culture and because of this automated release procedure. And they also generate a system that's very tolerant to failure. and is growing every day. So thank you for listening, and I hope you enjoyed the presentation.